If you do, just type it in the chat line and Claudia will read it up to me. I'm not sure what the situation is on audio, but just drop it in the chat line and she'll make sure that she reads it out for us. Okay? So, my philosophy on when people are doing creativity and doing creative things is everybody comes up with ideas and every idea is a great idea. And we take every idea that we can possibly get our hands on, and then we prioritize those based on what we can execute and what we can't execute. And I know there's been a lot of creativity and ideation and things like that. And I want to ask Ken Winnell, because he's had an agency and he's been doing that for a number of years. So Ken, you want to make some comments on your thoughts on ideation and the processes you go through?
Well, I think that, hello to everybody. First off, as your co-host, I like to join these things and give Lee counterbalance. I think innovation is not going to be replaced by AI, but I think AI is going to accelerate how innovation is used. And what we're seeing today is just in coming up with ideas around concepts or pitches, using visual aids and tools like ideogram or Dolly or, whatever to kind of illustrate and capture is much faster than waiting for a creative designer to come back with an idea or concept. It also allows you to do the same thing with respect to music, text, copy, etc. And I think that the age of innovation that's upon us is that anything's possible, and you need to really think through how do you spark the ideas and what's the best way to get a brainstorming going? How do you clear your mind? And there are a number of techniques from a human factors perspective, such as playing what we've found. There are a number of studies by mental health professionals that playing music in the office can lead towards innovation, that people tend to latch on to a melody or latch on to a lyric, and that could spark ideas. We also have found that visual, the colors that you use, the lighting in the rooms, the facilities that you're trying to innovate in make a big difference. So again, way back when Lee and I were dinosaurs and were walking around the halls at Microsoft buildings in Seattle, they had a lot of, beanbag chairs and, areas that you could just go and kind of unwind and decelerate. But I think that, again, innovation and the drive there, a lot of it has to do with your environment. A lot of it has to do with the temperature. A lot of it has to do with the pressure and the stress that you might be feeling. But where AI can come in and help is it accelerates it. So it's no longer.
Yeah. At a previous client, I did work with more of a design thinking methodology, which is really driven at innovation. And, where we used it was to find places within a company or an enterprise where AI could play a role. So a little bit different, and I forget who was speaking before this, a little bit different use of it, but it's how to go deploy AI to come up with the innovation, come up with an innovative solution. So there's a lot of different ways you can go do this and innovate. And I just wanted to add that point on.
No, I think we treat that as a kind of a separate activity of, AI, innovation of AI and how AI can impact a business. There is innovation there, but with respect to creativity, it's more about how do you think about it and understanding the business. And yeah, we actually have a packaged offering that we do for that now.
And get people to begin to think about this. Is AI, are you guys using it to help you overcome any of the creative blocks that you might face when you're trying to think through something? What's the most creative? Brent, go ahead.
Yeah, so I've used it in a couple of situations. One for just efficiency. So per the previous comments, doing things like comparative analysis of competitors, competitive information coming together in volume, and then having AI help me tease out salient points. And then from an ideation perspective, a lot of copywriting. putting in scenarios and rough drafts of content, and then having AI work with me, and I iterate with it on, fleshing out copy or outlines of material. Those have all been, useful ways for me to be more efficient and to prompt a little bit more creativity on my side.
Yep. Good.
In terms of
Good point. Yeah.
what happens. And so, as you said, is it, like resume writing, I think it's a given that AI is going to be involved in most people's resume.
Correct.
You could, but there's nothing wrong with that. I think the thing is, when you start looking at creative process and copyright infringement and the things that are really important to people that are, quote, creators, unquote, right?
Mhm.
It's important to know that it's an original work. Now, Amy Goldsmith and I have reviewed some of the copyright and copyright office policies that have come out recently. Human in the loop is such a factor. And if the work is created using AI, but human interaction is made and there's editing done by humans, it's still considered an original work. If you start basing it on public domain profiling, if you start like you said, I want to write in the style of F. Scott Fitzgerald, it will inject that, and it'll give you those tools. I think it's important to stress that AI is proliferating through every facet of our lives, right? Whether we want it to or not. As far as detection and I tell people all the time, it's like you should assume AI is being used. There are tools that can detect it. There's some universities that have come up with the watermarking concept.
What I'm working on, the first email that I get, and usually I just tell them the situation, and then it'll tell me like different responses, and I'll go, well, how do I tell this to someone in sales, someone in benefits? Because a lot of the treasury type of conversations I need to have, they don't have that vocabulary. So I found it really good to, speak the language that they speak, and that's how I use it.
That's cool. You're setting your personality style against their personality style individually, right? Unknowingly, but you're really doing that.
Yeah, it
Because
just helps them get to like what I need from them or what my situation is.
Mhm.
And they know exactly what I'm talking about instead of using a vocabulary they just don't even know.
Yeah, excellent. Who else?
Lee, that's a great point about using it from somebody else's point of view. That's a key driver in the design thinking methodology about, seeing things from the customer's point of view, from another person's point of view. So we use ChatGPT to communicate better, but also when you see what they might think about what you've created, you start to get other inputs and perspectives that drives creativity. So once you see something you're doing at work from the CFO's perspective or from a HR leader, you start to have some new ideas about how you can enhance the work product or the approach that you're taking.
Yeah, now you can go to the advanced version of that, Sean, where you can plug in multiple people with multiple perspectives and put the entire system in dialogue mode, where it will carry on dialogues with you and them with different perspectives, and it'll give you an idea of kind of where you're going.
And that
Ponce,
goes back to your book because it's different perspectives debating a topic.
yes, different perspectives debating different topics. You're exactly right. Ponce, you had a point you wanted to make?
Yeah, models actually do show you where it's thinking and what sources it's referring to. There's a tool at u.com called ARI, which actually has a very good transparent ARI, yeah,
Hey, mhm.
which it's very strong. It's a new tool. It's in beta, so you have to apply to get into the list. But there's a ton of stuff there, and to just comment more on coding in general, AI is transformative for development, right? We have to give that as a baseline. It's table stakes now. If you're developing lines of code and you're a developer, you're behind the times because there's so many modules and libraries that are available now, and AI can start integrating them, building your base. I actually used Claude to build a complete website full with animations and everything, just from, as we all talk about, the prompts. And so being able to do that in an expeditious way is the future. Now, what the challenge is that, I think somebody said earlier that, hey, it could analyze the framework, it could give you the code base, it could give you all these different things from looking at GitHub or GitLab or whatever tool you're using, just the repository. That's great. And that improves QA, and that also improves cybersecurity and some of the other things that you could do to build in. The advantage of these things is that someone outside of that is also looking at it from an architectural standpoint, from an efficiency standpoint, and analyzing that. And so, your skill set changes. It's no longer writing lines of code, and it's really analyzing how code is behaving. And then as you get into the machine learning and neural networking pieces of it, you can understand that you can let go of it because it can self-maintain. And so those are the things that we're starting to see, code that fixes itself. We're starting to see some of these things that it can make corrections midstream. So those are the more interesting things to look for in the next 6 months. You're going to start to see some really, that's why everybody's so high on agentic technology. If you are a SaaS platform today and you're not thinking about integrating agents, you're going to be left on the sidelines very quickly. You've seen how quickly Salesforce and how Oracle and all these guys have started to embrace agents because they recognize the repetitive